Well, hello, folks, and welcome to the Travels with Geordie live stream for March the 22nd, 2020. There was some confusion with YouTube about what time this was going to go up. At some point, they thought I was in Newfoundland, so I apologize to you who actually tuned in earlier. I saw there were some comments of people wondering where I was. So I think I'm live. I don't see any comments coming up yet, so there may be no one out there. YouTube is constantly changing its software for live streaming, and so this isn't the same system I used last time. So hopefully there's someone out there. Let's have a look at the thread. Yes, hello, there's people there. I am live. How about that? Alex, hey, Alex, good to see you. How are you? Boat McGrill, J.A., Martin Gafford, Dennis Bund. Oh boy, Bund Shush. Oh, come on, Dennis, help me out with this. Anyway, of course you can't. Here we go. We are actually live. So as usual, wondering what the sound is like, the video is like. I'm direct connect to a router this time, so hopefully it's a little bit better. Natalie Smith, hi, how are you? It's working, sounds great. Loud and clear. Hello from Australia. Hello, Bernard. Oscar. Whoa, coming in fast now. Sean, Steve, Gloucester. Hi from Kentucky. Hi. Wow, slow down here. Sniper. Hi. Gary again. Hi, Peter. It's the Doorman. How are you? Just saying hello to a few people on the way in. You're live in UK. Wonderful. Mike says hi, Peter and Geordie. Geordie is nearby, but won't be on screen. Hey, you from SVZea. Natalie says, sounds good, all good. So we're slowing down here a bit. I've actually caught up. No, I haven't. Just say hello to a few more people, and then we can, a little blurry, is it? I'm sorry about that. Maybe just a little clean of the camera. I tried to clean it earlier. Who knows? Looking good from Oregon. Sounds good. Good picture. From Blighty. I don't know why this doesn't scroll. It's just iPad joy. I thought I was so clever, actually. See, I'm watching the comments on this iPad because through some clever YouTube-y stuff, I'm able to break out the comments from this laptop that I'm recording it on, which I could never possibly see. The whole stream would be like this. But unfortunately, there's a bit of a lag here. Hello from Denmark, crazy prepper. Prepping. This is sort of that time, isn't it? South Florida. Mark. Where was your daughter returning to? Well, Mark, she was returning to North Carolina. She's at North Carolina State doing her doctorate. So I was a little creeped out about that, but everything seems to be pretty good. Lots of love from Joe and company. Oscar, friends, very good. Kelly. Live from Amsterdam. How are you, Kelly? Carry on, we can scroll back down here from the Netherlands. Geordie is self-isolating. Well, no, Geordie is old. Geordie is still a great pup, but he basically sleeps all day. Trying to get him to be part of anything is getting very, very difficult. He's well, he's healthy, but really quiet. So we'll try to get him in more stuff, but if it's not a shot of him sleeping, it's not all that interesting. South Carolina, love the channel. Thank you so much. Boat dude, Anthony, how are you from North Carolina? Well, say hi to my daughter. Hello to you all. Bob, hi from Newfoundland and Labrador. Rodney, I was actually in Newfoundland and Labrador earlier today, or at least YouTube thought I was, because they somehow YouTube thought I was in that time zone and started this hours ago when I was still asleep. So I apologize from all that. Hello to you also, Peter. Newfoundland and Labrador. Made from that. One question about your Land Rover. A great mechanic in Northern California or Nevada for a bug eye, looking for new content. Okay, loving your new content. Great. I can answer that. Northern California. Well, Oregon, you need to talk to Ike Goss at Pangolin 4x4 in Eugene, Oregon. He is probably the national greatest guru on Land Rovers in the United States. He's also a really, really nice guy. If you go way back to my episodes to my road trip last May, I dropped in with him briefly. I even had him for a beer of the week. So I was very, very privileged. Ike Goss, Pangolin 4x4, Eugene, Oregon, and he can do anything you need. Carry on. Here we go. Made for live one. That's all right. Yep, been prepping for 5 years. Your time has come. Well, I suppose it has. Yes, he is. I live in Eugene, and he's a good mechanic. Okay, yes, he certainly is. He's probably very busy because he's in very, very high demand. Brendan says, "Hi, Peter. Love your work from Australia, Melbourne." Well, good to hear from you. It's funny. I was thinking about Australia as I was preparing for this live stream because last time we were on, you had the fires. Now, I don't even know with the way the news cycle works. I'm assuming that's largely under control now as you're heading into your winter. I certainly hope it is. Not that we don't have lots of other stuff to worry about. Here we go. Getting this to scroll properly. I wish I just had slightly better eyesight. Hello from Massachusetts, from Liekos. Love your channel. Thank you. I really appreciate that. Okay, well, I am sort of have caught up with saying hello, although I realize I missed a lot of people. But I would like to just, for starters, say, oh my gosh, we're all here together here with this COVID-19 thing. It's extraordinary, is it not? I think I might have mentioned in my episodes, I live in Victoria, British Columbia, and here I'm not going to say isolated, but we're certainly not in the hotbed of it all. People seem to be largely going about their business. I'm largely in isolation here at the marina. I'm not going out for food, all that kind of stuff. I have enough beer for 3 months of beer of the week, if that's what it comes to. So we're set for that. The city is not on lockdown yet, as many of you are, and I have huge empathy for that. I cannot imagine what it's like. I've seen pictures from Manhattan. I mean, oh my gosh, of course, Italy. Around the world is just devastating. And every day I feel so fortunate that so far this has been relatively okay. I'm out of work. I'm not doing any of my design work and my other kinds of stuff, but that's not desperate for me. So let me catch up just a little bit while I was talking. I'm going to have to do a refresh because this thing is not caught up yet. There we go. Sorry about that. Yeah, no, this may not be the smartest thing. Here we go. Okay, the fire replaced with floods. Oh, sorry to hear about that. Hello from San Francisco to Doug, and lockdown on your 38-foot Gafford catch. Know your area. I used to live in Port Townsend for 18 years. Yes, Port Townsend, beautiful town. I mean, there are some places to be in lockdown that aren't as bad as others. Is it as crazy as you as is in Florida with the panic frenzy? No, not really. I was out in the stores 2 or 3 days ago, basically the last run out, and everyone was being relatively civil. The last few sort of supply stores, marine, chandlery and harbor store like that, they're working on the system where you call them from the parking lot, you tell them what you want, you pay with your credit card, they hand it out the door. I think it's a super system, and I'm hoping that's what the grocery stores are going to. I know they're heading that way, but it seems to me right now that the grocery stores are the biggest interaction between people, because many other stores are either closed or they have a system where you really don't have to interact at all. But we'll see about that. How do you contact potential winners of a t-shirt? Okay, when you win a t-shirt, I scroll through all the comments and I reply to that comment saying, send me an email at swag@travelswithgeordie.com. And once you sent me that email, I reply to you with, hey, congratulations, you won, so glad. And I send you a coupon to the Travels with Geordie online store where you can pick whatever t-shirt you like, and it's completely free, including shipping. So that's how I do it. If you're a potential winner I haven't got back to yet, I am not really this week behind, and a little more maybe, just being so swamped. But for those of you who have recently won t-shirts, I'll make sure that you get set up. William, hi Peter, saying hi from California, lockdown town. Glad to hear you're going cruising. Have friends cruising in the BVI, and the distance between the boats is automatic self distancing. Be safe and enjoy. Thank you. Hi from Campbell River. It was neat to bump into you in Refuge Cove. Oh, did we? Well, hi, Ray. Neat. That's right. I remember you. Yes, very much. Black Hawk Marine. Florida isn't too bad. Don't worry about everywhere else. We're still boating. Mahogany dust kills the virus, says David Connolly. I love that. A nice classic boat has lost his message. Jack Gates says, I can find a decent UK caulking gun if I send it to you. Okay. Man needs a decent one. Well, I actually have one and maybe another one somewhere in storage, but those cast ones are so nice compared to the junk you can get out here, but I'm probably just not looking around hard enough. But thank you very, very much. Any advice on cutting potholes? I think you must mean portholes. In ply board for existing portholes. My guess in plywood, it would be scribe it with whatever means you have, maybe a compass. I tend not to have one. And cut it with a jigsaw. So start with a drill and then cut it out with a jigsaw. There's another thing called a fly cutter. I don't know if everyone's familiar with it. It looks like a compass, but you put it in your drill. And it's got a center point and a beam. And at the end of the beam, instead of a pencil, it has a blade. And it swings around furiously, cutting a hole. I call them a fly cutter. I haven't had one in years. And that would be a big fly cut. But they're quite handy. They're like the universal hole saw. I've used them for all kinds of stuff. They can kind of get away from you, though, if you're not careful. What do we got going here? Landlubber in Huntsville is Gary Deschamps. Oh, Gary. Thank you very much, by the way. That was very kind of you. And enjoying your boat restoration projects. Watch for Amazon delivery. Well, I will. Thank you very much. Hello there, nice classic boat. Guys from Germany, how are you? Stay safe. Keep up the good work. I certainly will. Let's see what we have in the way of questions here. Cutting door skin with utility knife. Very true. I have cut it that way in the past. I've even cut it with scissors. It's pretty. I'm going to try and actually use as little door skin in the future as possible, but there are places where I have used it, no doubt. I jumped right to this. Old Jerry Loop says, how can I send you beer? You can easily send me beer. And anyone who would like to, very, very easily, reach out to me at peter@travelswithgeordie.com, and I'll send you all the contact information and we can figure that out. I would love to be featuring some beers from around the world. And every once in a while, I get a suggestion, and I think there's actually a couple I've dropped the ball on. So I apologize if you're out there. But yes, it would be fantastic if people who wanted to share their beer and I could share it on here. Actually, the whole beer of the week idea I stole from a local Instagram account. Was this young lady who does nothing, but I mean, she's wonderful. But she drinks beer from all over the world. She doesn't appear in her own Instagram at all. She simply holds the can of beer. And all you see is the can of beer and some scenery behind it. And she doesn't even say what she thinks of it. But she's viral. Anyway, it's interesting. Very, very interesting. What else we got going here? All the best from Spain and Oklahoma. Spain and Oklahoma. Did I read that right? Well, it's interesting that you're from both, or sending the best from both. I don't know about the hot spots in Oklahoma, but I know Spain is very, very difficult right now. Let me just do a refresh on here and see if I can keep up. Again, if you have any particular questions about anything that we're doing, going on forward, I'm going to talk a little bit about going cruising because there's some controversy on that, and I'd like to share my thoughts on it. Kelly, we're still boating. As a matter of fact, we own the smallest motorboat ever to circumnavigate the. Wow, Kelly, wow, that's very neat. Do you have a YouTube channel? You must let me know. See what's going on. What else we got going here? Dana Coyle. Hey, how are you, Dana? Dana. What decision have you made on what you're going to do for a motor in MV Geordie? Well, good thing you asked that, because one of the things I was going to talk about. For those of you who've been following along, you know that the motor I have already installed in MV Geordie, Perkins 4236, the motor is fine. It's actually probably fine, but all the ancillaries need work, and the cumulative price of all those ancillaries is vast. So I have sourced through one of my neighbors here at the marina the possibility of a 0 hours Perkins 4236 that was originally built for a generator, a genset for a boat. So it is a marinized engine. There will be some differences. It has a different oil pan, but I have the marine oil pan on the engine that's in here. And I understand the governor on the injection pump is going to have a different governor. I don't know if that's going to be difficult to deal with. Some other things are going to be a little bit complex, but it's very promising. And so far, the price seems reasonable. It's not cheap, but it certainly seems reasonable for a 0 hours engine or a very low hours engine. With the onset of COVID-19, I haven't had an opportunity to go look at it or continue that, but I don't think it's going anywhere in a hurry. At least I hope not, if you're listening. Anyway, so I'm very excited about that. So the future would be probably midsummer to late summer. We'll do another engine swap. What fun. Cool. Okay, where are we? I'll just see you build a steering system hydraulically instead of the cables. Yeah, well, there were a lot of people, I think, that weren't too impressed with me putting a cable steering system in. I've said it before and I can say it again. The first reason I didn't go hydraulic is because I can't afford it. Remember, I have two helms. Yeah, I'm sure if you add up the parts, you see why that would happen. Secondly, I already had almost all the gear for a cable system because the boat had a cable system originally. So that was pretty straightforward. I love the simplicity of a cable system. I can always fix it. If I have to fix it with clothesline, I can fix it. If I run out of seals or a fitting or I blow a hose or all of that, and frankly, I hate oil. I don't want any more oil in the boat than I need. There's a couple of other reasons. A mechanical helm always centers to the same place. So I have a kingpin on the wheel, so I know when the rudder is centered. Upstairs and downstairs, it stays the same. With hydraulic, you lose track of that. There's just lots of reasons that I'm happy with cable, and that may not be enough to convince everybody, but I'm very content with it. I built it with overrated gear. Those cables are those shivs are worth 650 pounds. One line load, so I can't possibly break them. So I'm very, very happy with that. Tell them they can hit the like button. Only 2 likes so far. Oh, Gary, yeah, sure. Give me a like. I would love you to give me a like if you had an opportunity. Turns out I'm sort of missing the boat on asking for likes. Apparently, YouTube really likes channels that get likes. So give me lots of likes if you like it. I mean, obviously. Steve says, how is your engine wheel build going? Okay, so Steve, if you were here a minute ago, hopefully you were. I explained that the engine that's in the boat is probably not going to be the engine I use in the long term because I have an option for another engine that's almost the same. Hank says, we're stuck in Spain, but hope for an exit. Studying painting. Wow, well, that's been a nice life. My goodness. Except that you're stuck there now, and I hope you're in a situation that's not too uncomfortable. Jim, I'm dying to know what is with your motor. Okay, well, same thing again. I'm the motor that's in here. Just the parts I need to get this one up to speed are just too expensive. It's actually cheap for me to get an all new used motor. So we'll see about that. Here we go. Class about what do you think of the 62 Dearborn gasoline engines from Motor Yacht 36 feet? Would you keep gas or change to diesel? Absolutely. I would not have gasoline on a boat. In fact, I don't even like having cans of gasoline for dinghies. I've gotten rid of my generator and I won't use a gasoline dinghy anymore. I don't think I am the hero of safety, but gasoline is nasty stuff on a boat with a bilge, on a boat that I have propane on. I know, but I just, and gasoline engines tend not to have that grunt, that torque, that longevity. I like diesel, even though I hate diesel. But I would think if you have an option of a diesel engine, I would definitely go that way. Tanner says, oily stuff don't rust. Yes, you're right. Very, very true. Speaking from a Land Rover point of view. Bass, never thought of a rebuild. Parts are not expensive. I have a Perkins 6354, needed rebuild and parts were less $800. Very true. In fact, the complete rebuild kit for the Perkins 4236 is $500 US, including sleeves, pistons. Excellent. The problem is I don't think the engine needs a rebuild. That's not the problem with the engine. It's all the ancillaries, which in this case is the raw water pump, which is ridiculously expensive. the header tank with the heat exchanger bundle set in it, which was just a corroded mess. I didn't even show you that part. The exhaust manifold is finished. And in fact, there are some other issues with the engine related to age that a rebuild wouldn't help with all that much. But I appreciate that the rebuild is very good. It's one of the reasons I love these engines, because they are perpetually rebuildable. Because for those who aren't familiar, the piston goes up and down in the cylinder, which wears on an engine. Well, with these engines, the whole cylinder is actually a removable sleeve. So when it wears, you just replace them with a new one. So there's no reason to bore over and put larger pistons and larger rings in. You get a new cylinder every time you do a rebuild, and it's cheap. Here we go. Jojo, I have played with the thought of to live on a boat. Can you give me 3 tips for a newbie on what should be that? Well, it's really, really very simple. Living on a boat has really very little to do with knowing anything about boats. It helps. What living on a boat is a change of lifestyle. If you think you're the kind of person that can live in a teeny tiny place with very, very few possessions around you, and you're always looking after yourself. We manage our own power, our own water, our own sewage, our own everything. You look after yourself. And if you're okay with that, in fact, if you take stock in that, if you enjoy that, living on a boat is wonderful. The privilege of living here, I'll give you a quick view. I mean, it's not a very nice day, but you've all seen it before. I'm looking straight into downtown Victoria. Beautiful, beautiful old city. That path is a 25-minute walk to downtown. The privilege of living in Victoria on a boat is the hack. Being able to live here on the water in downtown Victoria for what I pay in moorage, which you're going to ask, all inclusive about $750 Canadian, including parking, power, garbage, all those things. Awesome. If you don't feel you have the resiliency to be able to cope with all the little problems that come along when you're in charge of everything in your life, then maybe living on a boat isn't for you. And then I would just say there's really 3 kinds of boats. 4, really. There's wooden and plastic or other materials, and then there's motor and sail. I love wooden boats, but they're a lot more work and a lot more liability, but I couldn't live on a plastic boat. I love sailboats. I've been a sailor all my life, but living on a motorboat is way more comfortable and way more civilized 95% of the time when you're not actually out going from A to B. And if it's a responsible motorboat like this one is, it uses very little fuel going from A to B. So it's not that big a deal, although I miss sailing a lot. I'm going to jump back here. All the best for a safe life. Thank you, Hank. Mike says, Peter, it's a beautiful day here in South Louisiana. Wash your hands and often. Oh, I do. Wash them more often than I can possibly imagine. Because, of course, I'm not in complete social isolation because there's Geordie, who has to go up the dock, through the breezeway, which is a series of gates, and out into the public twice a day. So, you know, in that course of that event, yeah, there's lots of hand washing and lots of hand wipes and lots of not touching doorknobs and stuff, but pretty close. We're going to move a little bit up here. Kelly, stick to Perkins. Circumnavigated the world and still running. Excellent. Glad to hear it. Jim, what about the butt joints? Okay. Well, butt joints are sort of on hold, as you can kind of tell, but not entirely. All the butt joints I talked about on this boat were really to do research for both boats, MV Geordie and MV Zephyrus. Well, the next boat getting a haul out is actually MV Zephyrus. Was to be the first week this June, gosh knows now. And I had started to tool up all the gear to be able to replace as many butt joints as possible with scarf joints, as I showed in that video if you watched. So that's a router jig and all kinds of stuff. And we'll go into that in more detail. So that's the future of the butt joints, both on MV Zephyrus and MV Geordie. Geordie's haul out. MV Geordie's will be a year from now. And I hope to deal with most of the butt joints at that point there. So that's the latest on that. Jim Goss, are they safe? I apologize, Jim. I'll have to look back to see what we're talking about being safe. I apologize. Are the butt joints safe? Yes. All the I've checked 95% of the butt joints on both boats. The only one that was really ugly that I showed you all was the only one that was leaking, and I have secured that with extra fasteners. So we're in good shape for that. But it's scary. There's no doubt. It's totally scary. I don't know how many of you are following other wooden boat channels. I'm not going to name names, but this last winter, 2 wooden boats sunk from springing planks, probably at butt joints, and a third very nearly did. So it's something to think about. What kind of heater do you have on board? Okay, right now I live in a marina. I'm using small electric compact heaters. We only have 20 amps at this marina, so I can only use 2 at a time and no hot water. I also have a hot water loop to a radiator type of device off my hot water heater, so that at least when I'm using hot water, I can circulate that through a pump and also get heat off of that. And we live in a very mild climate, so that's been fine. When I go cruising, heat will be via a Lobosco diesel hot water heater. You've all heard of them. It's a small little thing. Makes hot water from diesel, and that'll run through a hot water loop, which will heat my domestic hot water, the water that comes out the tap, as well as a series of heaters that will heat the boat. So that's the future anyway. Are they safe? What kind of heat? Okay, I asked that. Really looking forward to the butt block replacements. Yeah, so am I, Brian. So am I. I'll be so glad when they're gone. I mean, lots and lots of wooden boats have had long, happy lives, never replacing or removing the butt blocks in favor of scarf joints. You just have to pay attention to them. But if your boat is everything to you and you don't mind doing the work, I think it's a nice thing to do to replace them all with scarf joints, or as many as possible. Turns out there's not as many as I thought, which is really, really good. Here we going. Steve, do you have any regrets with taking on your boat and the rehab? None at all. This has been, other than raising a family and having a wonderful, wonderful 2 decades doing that, the best thing I've ever done in my life. It is the perfect scale for someone who wants to always have a project to do. It is such a civilized life. I mean, I'm sitting here with this huge expanse of glass around me, looking out at a marina and downtown. Once I get to go cruising, and I have on this boat and even more on MV Zephyrus, the ability to possibly look out these windows at, the canals of Europe, or the lower Mississippi, or, anywhere in the world a boat like this is appropriate to. It's been fantastic. Has it been more work than I thought? Not really. I bought the boat knowing a lot about woodworking and things, but not a lot about wooden boats. And I bought it very cheap, and I was excited, like most people are when they buy a wooden boat. They go, woohoo! It has less problems with it, way less problems with it than most boats of this age, and many boats that I've seen. So I'm very, very, very grateful for it. I went into it without deep enough pockets. No doubt about it. But because I'm still able to live aboard and I'm enjoying myself, it doesn't really matter how quickly I get to the end. I want to get cruising. I want to get the boat mobile soon. But I will leave this marina and go cruising perpetually, either all over the world or at least in the Pacific Northwest, as soon as the boat runs, pretty much. And then I will continue to do the work I do on it, well, practically for the rest of my life, or as long as I can. So I love it. The boat feeds me. It absolutely does. Jojo, thanks for your answer. Wash your hands and keep safe. Yes, I will. Barry, Kiora from Barry. You probably are aware that when I bought the boat, it was called Kiora 3. Bass, do you think wooden boats are always need an experienced owner, or at least an experienced neighbor? I have an old steel boat and then learning how to weld. This is a very, very delicate question. I think anyone who is willing to try things, willing to jump in with both feet, try to use tools, try to use materials, take risks, no problem, you can deal with a wooden boat. But it's dangerous to say to people, people say, hey, should I get a wooden boat? Absolutely, get a wooden boat. Well, that person is probably going to be unhappy. And there are more sad wooden boat stories than there are successes. Actually, I don't know that, but I suspect there are. Wooden boats can break your heart. This is not my first wooden boat. It's my third, and the first 2 broke my heart. Only because I didn't really have time to invest in them. They were small. They were a hobby. but both of them ended up on bonfires. So wooden boats aren't for everybody. But if you don't mind the constant challenge and the satisfaction of every single part of it being repairable, some parts harder than others, but it's made of wood. Wood grows on trees. It's so sad that we think of wooden boats as living their life and being done. Well, yes, some wooden boats get too far gone. They are too far gone. But many, many wooden boats are still very, very within being fully restored. The problem is it would be insanely expensive if you had to hire a professional to do that. I couldn't possibly do it. So I think wooden boats don't need an experienced owner, but it certainly helps if you do. And steel boats, probably the same a little bit. Jamie, I was literally watching your post from yesterday when the live stream came up. Liquid nails are awesome, aren't they? Plus, for marine labeled products, 4 times the price. And there are reasons to use epoxy and other kinds of products, and I'm very grateful that epoxy exists. But for this particular job and a few others, PL has been very, very good to me. What do we got on going here? Take your house with you. It's worth it when you can sip a beer of the week. Well, absolutely. Absolutely. I can't wait to get cruising. Frankly, life here in Victoria doesn't suck. It's really nice. The path I mentioned here, well, you all know that it's only 10 minutes to my local, which is a beautiful microbrewery craft beer pub with a terrace looking out on the harbor. Life here is extraordinarily cheap if you're not paying mortgage or rent. I say that, obviously, cost of living is high, but it's very, very manageable. To be able to live here like this is fantastic. To be able to extend this and stop paying mortgage, there's no way I could spend what I pay in mortgage in diesel in a month. So it's very, very, very nice life. Drecker, I hope you're not running yet, but what do you expect range based on your tankage? Good question. The boat currently has 2 80-gallon tanks. So 160 gallons. The engine, in theory, burns about 1 gallon an hour at 6 knots. That's roughly what we're getting on MV Zephyrus. Same engine, lighter boat, but I think it could be running smoother. So let's get my handy dandy calculator out, and I'm going to multiply 6 times 120. I'm sure the rest of you have already done it. I should be able to do this in my head, shouldn't I? I went to high school. Yeah. So, except I can't calculate with one hand. Okay, so that's 720 nautical miles, ideally. Is that what I'm going to get in range? I don't know. Are those the tanks I'm going to stick with? I really don't know. I have a lot more room in the bilge than those tanks use up. It's tempting to enlarge the tanks. I'd like to have new tanks built, and I would probably put bigger tanks in, get up to maybe 200 gallons-ish. So those are the kinds of numbers we're talking about. What are we going back here? So nice, your positive answer about buying a wooden boat. We need more of this type of outlook around us. Well, I can be accused of being a little over-enthusiastic and positive. Not that I don't have negative thoughts, but I tend to think just about anything can be done, and then you just find a way to do it. I use that in most of my life, and I got to build some extraordinary houses that most people didn't think were possible, and did some extraordinary things that most people didn't think were possible. But I took a lot of risks and made a few mistakes along the way. No doubt about it. Dana, planks on my 37-foot lobster boat have no butt blocks. They ended on ribs. Okay. Dana, are they sawn frames? Are they like nice, big, fat frames? Or are they steam bent, skinny little? I would find it a little precarious to have planks just end on a little frame. But that's the way they were built. I lived for 20 years in Nova Scotia, in the South Shore, where they built lots of lobster boats. I didn't pay attention at that time how they were made. That seems interesting. It helps. Work beats. It helps, but hard work beats talent. Yes, make sure you do research before doing things you don't know. Very true. That's Black Flag Marine. I don't want to suggest you can jump into any of these projects, without any prior experience. I'm just saying that if you are willing to learn and have the means to learn, I believe most people could take it on. But I don't want to get into a situation where I'm encouraging people to do what they shouldn't do. Jim says, we'll be watching all future episodes. Thanks, Jim. Glad to have you in there. Rui, oh no, I've jumped ahead so far. I'm also working on a boat that I bought last year, a classic Menorcan. Yeah, and your wood skills and ideas are awesome. Well, thank you very much. I'm glad of that. Love your boat and the work on this small room. Yes, I love the boat, and I know there's always something to do. From Germany. You know, it's funny. A lot of people say it must be hard to work on the boat just in this small room. Well, you've all seen what the wheelhouse looks like. I'm in a tiny corner of it. It goes on for a good 12 feet that way. I find it plenty of room, to tell you the truth, especially once you endorse the bring the saw to the wood idea. Rather, I mean, I used to have a shop with a big chop saw and a big table saw, and you had to run wood back and forth all over the place. Some of you who have been watching for a while know that sometimes I have to run wood out one window, across the table saw, and out the other. There are some compromises. Obviously, there are. I'm always moving tools around, but I have been remarkably content. I'm not looking for more room. I'm looking for less dust. I would love to have a dedicated shop on the boat. And in the future, certainly when I go cruising, I will do all my woodwork outside. I'm going to work on an outside sort of a clamp-on bench that will hang off the transom, so I could work in the cockpit and work outside, do the the bulk of that work outside, and so that I can always have some noise and dust going on. But I can't do it in the marina because I have to look after my neighbors here and stuff like that. What do we got going on? We're not wench. Hey, good to see you. I know that's not a big thing for you live streams. My uncle was a commercial fisherman in the BC coast. He would only own wooden boats. The last one he had was 68 feet, went all the way to Alaska and back. It's amazing. I have heard so many stories about fishermen that really believe in wooden boats. Certainly Nova Scotia was the case. Out here, I'm looking across at Fisherman's Wharf, which is in downtown Victoria. Someone may correct me, but many of those boats right here in downtown Victoria are still timber. Many wooden boats, many fishing boats in this area are still timber, and I love that that's the case. I live at Anchor dirt cheap. Yes, I would live at Anchor too if I had easy access to, the tools and materials and hardware and stuff like that I need. Many of you, I'm sure, know Finding Simon Stiles, who is restoring a plywood catamaran just up the coast from here in Gabriel Island in Gulf Islands. He lives at Anchor. It's a hard life. He works hard to be able to live at Anchor. And it means that everything has to come back and forth in the dinghy, his water, his food, his fuel, his wood, his tools. So kudos to that. And I often think, at some point I'll be living at Anchor, but hopefully not trucking too much plywood back and forth. So we'll see. I got to jump back a bit here. I lost track. Ray, we look at old wooden Grand Banks, 50. Fantastic liveaboard. Well, it would. A massive wood hull at 50 feet. Funny, I have an emotional threshold with wooden boats. I hear about these 50 and 60 footers, and I go, wow, that's a lot of boat. That's a heck of a lot of boat. I know this 38-foot boat pretty well. I know the 36-foot boat next door. I've been aboard Grand Banks 36s and 42s, I think. Seem very manageable. 50 feet. I was on a 65-foot wooden boat a while ago. That's a lot. 2 big twins, gensets, systems, so much stuff to deal with. I mean, if it ran into trouble, so many planks, so many frames, so much work to do. But if it's in great shape and it just needs maintenance, I'm looking across at a fabulous wooden retired fishing boat, now converted to a liveaboard, very well maintained. It needs very little work, even though he keeps it in absolute top notch. So there's nothing wrong with big wooden boats, but bad big wooden boats could ruin you. They really, really could ruin you. But Grand Banks, rock solid, right? Just doing a quick drive-by, says, give me one. Love the videos along with the boat. Geordie and your daughter, when she visits, stay well and enjoy the modern trip. Thanks so much. Thanks for doing the drive-by. Good to see you. Dana, steam bent white oak, 3.5 by 1. So 3.5 for the, yeah, that's a pretty big a wide frame, so that would take the end of the butts relatively well. Boat builder and rigger by trade, this is Black Flag. It's not all easy. Very, very true. Please don't believe that I'm suggesting it's easy. I have watched, and I've tried to encourage viewers to see that there are immensely talented shipwrights and boat builders out there that do fantastic work. And in fact, I'm hoping more Beer of the Week interviews will include some of that. I'm a hack. I just do what I can do with the skills I already have. It's very slow, and sometimes I have to repeat stuff. So don't for a second believe that it's I believe it's simple. It's definitely not simple. And I have a huge respect for those who have been trained and have a long experience doing it. So absolutely very, very true. Love your series. Keep off from the UK. I certainly will. Thank you very much. Gary, again, how are you? I just had a big jump. Will you add dinghy davit system or simply use a tow line? That's an awesome question. It's driving me nuts, to tell you the truth. Those of you who've been watching a while know that we tried a snap davit system flip up for the dinghy on MV Zephyrus. It didn't work well. We're using a very nice fiberglass dinghy that's very common here in the Pacific Northwest called the Minto, 9.5 feet long. Zephyrus's transom is 7.5 feet long. It really was just too flimsy and stuck out and would have hit the dock in certain docking maneuvers, and we opted against it. The snap davit flip up is very attractive because it maintains use of the transom. Because this little strut that would connect it to the transom when it's in the up position can be on one side or the other of the doorway, so you can still get off and on. These old monks are reliant on getting aboard via the transom. You can't really, it's a crawl to get in and out of the window into the wheelhouse. It's not intended for regular boarding. So you step onto the swim grid, you step through the transom door into the cockpit, and you're in. So davits are a problem from that. When I bought this boat, if you look at some really early videos, it had a beautiful set of stainless steel davits on it, which hung out over the swim grid. And it certainly made boarding on the swim grid impossible, either when the dinghy was hanging there or not. So probably not regular davits. Possibly on this boat, snap davits, because my transom is just shy of 9 feet wide. Therefore, the dinghy doesn't really stick out nearly as much. I think MV Zephyrus will get a crane, a mast with a boom, some sort of lift device to put the dinghy on her aft cabin top, because she doesn't have a upper deck up there. So there's room up there to put the dinghy up there very easily up and down. That's probably what we'll do. When cruising, just towed. But most times, especially if there's going to be any heavy weather, you don't want to be towing a dinghy, especially a hard shell dinghy. So we need to come up with a solution. So you can see the complexities. We're not quite there yet. So there you go. That's all I have to put on that. Andy, hi from the UK. Ottilia. Sailing. Love the way you're refurbing your boat, styles, cabinets, etc. without complicated methods, basic tools. Just get a pair of protective specs. Yes, I definitely should. Happily, I don't really need the glasses that I wear when I wear glasses. I need reading glasses for reading, which I should be wearing now, and I need driving glasses for driving. But for normal stuff around the shop, I don't need prescription glasses. So it's very easy for me to wear protective eyewear, which I'm trying to do more and more, and I'll really try and work on that. Black Flag Marine, again, that's a lot to wood to keep up. It definitely is, no doubt about it. Have enjoyed all that I've seen so far. And I'm 63, prairie boy raised, but would love to be on the water. I continue to follow you as long as I can. Well, John Davidson, I hope you can. And hope you get a chance to go boating somehow, somewhere. Because this coast, I mean, if you have a chance to get to the Pacific Northwest, either in the U.S., Puget Sound and the San Juan Islands, or Canada, or both, the Inside Passage. I mean, it's unbelievable boating. It's arguably some of the finest cruising in the world, and it's right here, and it's very accessible. It's just fantastic. I grew up in Montreal, where I was lake sailing. I then spent 20 years in Nova Scotia, which has awesome sailing, and I'm not knocking it. I want to sail all over the world. Not so much that I want better cruising than this. I just want to see the world from my boat. So get out boating if you have a chance. We're not wench. Gotta go. Been fun. Good to see you. Thanks for coming by at all. Web tracker again. Boating world, a few extra feet means size is cubed. Many don't grasp that. Absolutely. And that's the difference between MV Geordie and MV Zephyrus. I'll say under my breath, that boat is tiny compared to this. I mean, we can't figure it out. To tell you the truth, it's only 2 feet shorter. Everything about it is so much tinier. It's a girl's boat. It's perfect. It's a girl's boat. It sort of looks like a girl's boat. It's fantastic. But the difference is amazing what that 2 feet can do. Probably stemming, or at least creating, this classic boating term, 2-footitis, where everyone says, I wish my boat was 2 feet longer. I wish my boat was 2 feet longer. Well, I actually don't. My boat is the perfect length. Very happy with it. Very good. James Bennett, how much boat project design work do you do off camera for the boat? You make it look pretty easy. I do a fair amount. I had intended, some of you know, to make a full 3D model of the entire boat and design everything in full 3D before I made anything, because that's what I do for a living, for houses. And a few places I've sort of done that. Other places I've done just little 2D drawings. This is all in AutoCAD and on the computer to help me with geometry stuff. I have done a lot of stuff completely off the top of my head, or at least just a very little pencil sketch, which I didn't think I was going to do that because I have a lifetime of intensive design. But it just sort of, the flow of it just kind of goes. I mean, I've started a project with you folks where I've started the camera, picked up the saw, and said, okay, we're going to make something. And I really haven't thought about it all that much at all. There we go. Back to Gary. Good little concert last night. Nice to see you share another personal talent with us. Well, thank you very much. It's funny. I grew up with musicians. I grew up in Montreal. Everybody in my family was a musician. We were very good friends with the McGarrigle sisters. If you're Canadian folk people, you know them. In fact, the story of my guitar is quite interesting. It floated around some rather significant folk musicians in Montreal in the early 70s before it came to me. There's more interesting stories about the guitar. We'll get into some other time. All my friends as a child were musicians. I always thought I was going to be a musician, but it never happened. It never happened. Some people, it possibly because I'm a perfectionist and I just can't, I just can't somehow get to light speed on being a musician. I got all kinds of things I blame it on. Well, I'm 57 years old and I'm running out of excuses and I'm running out of time. So I was very grateful to be able to just say, I'm just going to write a song. It took 1 hour to write the song, 3 hours to memorize it as much as I did, and 2 hours to record enough reasonable takes that I could clip it together into something that had been done. So I don't know how much more music I'll be doing, but it was fun. What do we got going on now? Weight of the dinghy. Okay, good question. I think it's 120 pounds. The basic dinghy is 120 pounds. It's a sailing dinghy, so more when you have the sailing rig on, which wouldn't be there when it's being tipped up. Now, going for electric trolling motor on it right now, and currently a lead-acid AGM battery in it, which is not light. I don't expect to be able to tip it up with that in it, but I'm toying with the idea of possibly buying a quality lithium battery just for the dinghy to increase its portability. Unfortunately, when you take it ashore in many places, you also increase its theft ability or attraction to that, So you got to keep on top of all that kind of stuff. Stop squinting then. By the way, your camera's foggy. Camera's foggy. Maybe it's still grimy. I got nothing I can grab. I'm gonna take my shirt sleeve and try to wipe that a little bit. If you all say suddenly it's a lot better, I feel bad because I thought I would have got that. Stop squinting. It's bright. I squint. I always squint this eye because some of you will know that I'm almost blind in this eye, and I think probably from a young age, I sort of trained myself to keep it closed because, as you can tell, if I'm not careful, it can look all over the place because it doesn't really know what to look at, so it kind of wanders. So maybe that's why I'm squinting. I'm also squinting because I'm kind of a sour old man. Yeah. Anyway, sorry about that. Got to jump back up here. Love the work you do. 30-foot Halverson, what we are doing up. I can appreciate the work you do. Say hi to Geordie for me. I certainly will. Very good. That's from Carl. Carl, I know you're in self-isolation right now. I hope that's going well. Black Flag again. Would the weight up high change stability much? I really don't think so. These boats are really pretty solid, pretty stable. I'm not the least bit worried about that. Kevin, hello, Peter. Thanks for all your videos. Please give Geordie a healthy pat on the head. I certainly will. I do regularly. I'm jumping all over the place here. Well, March came in like a lamb. Hope April doesn't come in like a lion where you're gung-holing around self-isolating. That's a very good question. That's from Bob. Of course, weather is a concern. Weather in the summer where we're going, which is probably the Southern Gulf Islands, which is all the little islands between Southern Vancouver Island and the city of Vancouver, or the mainland of Vancouver. And they are largely very sparsely populated and also have a lot of unpopulated land and little nooks and crannies all over the place. Lots of hidey holes, generally pretty good. If I wanted to go up further up in what they call the Inside Passage or Desolation Sound, extraordinary bit of the world, a little more exposed on the way getting there. So we'll see how all that goes. Plus, anyway, there's lots on the whole cruising thing, and I had mentioned I was going to talk about it, but I'm just trying to catch up with the questions, but maybe it'll never happen. Hang on a second now. James, I just tuned in. How are you, James? Will you be doing a beer of the week at the end of this live stream? Haha, I have a couple of bottles of IPA. I can hope to join in. Absolutely. So for those of you who are wondering if there's going to be a beer week, this is an episode, and we are going to be enjoying a beer shortly. Something that I am now particularly fond of. I only showed it to you briefly because I'll introduce it properly shortly. But yes, there will be a beer of the week, and there will be a t-shirt giveaway, of course. Okay, so where were we? Rob Crawford. How are you, Rob? You're right about 2-foot-itis. Every boat is a compromise. What are some things you have compromised on MV Geordie? What feature amenities would you like to have if you can't? That's a super question, and I get asked that a lot. Really, very little. I'll tell you, a separate shower. I'm really happy with my wet bathroom. It's all fiberglass for those who've seen it. I mean, it's super nicely done. It's kind of stark right now, but I'm going to improve on that. A separate shower does a bunch of things. It allows you to shower. Tell me if this is too much information. And then have a dry place to get dried off and clean up and do all that stuff. Whereas right now, the only private place is the shower, and then you step out into, on my boat, it's my bedroom. It's not so bad. But when you have guests aboard, that's not so easy for them or for me. It just seemed more civilized to have a separate shower, which would require another 2.5 feet of length or somewhere, whatever. Many people think my galley is way too small, especially the owner of Zephyrus. But you know what? As a bachelor, by the time I have the fold-up extra part of it, we're going to talk about the galley a lot in the future. I actually love the galley, and I think it's plenty fine, especially with the new table here, which is only 2 feet from the galley. It gives that extra space. The forecastle is fine. It's massive. It has its own bathroom. The cockpit, fine. It's a nice size. No, I don't want a bigger boat. I don't want a longer boat. Harder to manage, harder to maneuver, hard to find berths for, pay more in words. I don't want a wider boat. I don't want a tall, no, perfect boat. Where are we here? Tenderick. There are cheap telescope and foldy dinghy cranes. Yes, there are. Yep. I'm looking into a couple that could be really neat. Steve, love your channel. Great inspiration. Give yourself a pat on the back. Give Geordie a big hug. I'll look after Geordie afterwards. Absolutely. Back from Hamburg. Have something to repair on the planks of your boat. Yes. Not really. The boat was surveyed 4 years ago with no trouble spots at all. No soft spots, no rough edges against seams. Certainly some seams were not great. I dealt with the bulk of them. The boat currently leaks about 1 liter a day, and it's coming from one garbage seam, and almost entirely, I know that. I don't think there's any real planking work to do, although the next haul out will prove that. But the work I am going to do is pay very close attention to what's called the hood ends, which are where the planks meet the stem at the front of the boat. There's end grain exposed there, and if it is compromised, that can give us some trouble. So far, so good, not a problem, but I want to pay extra special attention there, and as well, the butt joints and the butt blocks, many of which, if not all, if I can do it below the waterline, I'll replace. But basic planking, I'm pretty pleased. Refastening, that's not the topic. What do we got here? Craig, hi from the UK. What do you hope to have your boat at a stage where you can go cruising? This fall. I don't know if I've ever said this or what my schedule is. My big picture schedule now, and you guys are the first to know it, I guess. work on the boat, have it functional by this fall with this new engine. If you're joining me recently, joining the live stream recently, I have a line on a new engine, which I should get in midsummer, late summer. I'll certainly be very eager then to do some sea trials, to get out, to do some limited cruising in the fall. Gosh knows what the world will be like, but there are 3 major wooden boat festivals in this neck of the woods. The boat might not really be ready for wooden boat festivals, although technically they have festivals for any wooden boat, but you want it to be relatively pretty. I would love to have the boat ready for those. Don't know. So, but definitely out and about a bit this fall. Another winter here, working on the boat, and then done with working on the boat in the fall of 2021. Now, here's where it gets weird. I may then drive around the world. For those of you who've been watching for a while, you know, I have a Land Rover, and I have this ambition to do a big road trip around the world. I don't know, probably ship it to Europe, drive through Europe, get as far as, I don't know. It depends on a lot of things in the future, at which point I would be looking for a tenant to live in the boat, probably not at this marina, but I don't know why I keep pointing. You can't see what I'm looking at. Downtown. For those of you who've watched the episodes where we were spent Christmas downtown, that downtown marina, very appealing to live aboard, living right in the heart of downtown Victoria. No parking. It's much harder to work on a boat there, but it would be a pretty neat place to live for a tenant for 8 months a year, because you can only be there 8 months a year, at which point I will return from wherever I am in the world, leave the truck, spend the summer working on the boat, a haul out, a little refit work, a little bit of cruising, and a new tent the next year. So probably 2 years of that. That's if everything goes perfectly, at which point I will return to the boat, sell the truck, and use the funds to transport the boat either across North America to, not all the way, just to the Great Lakes, Thunder Bay, and then possibly do the American Great Loop, which is Chicago, down the Mississippi, Florida, up the intercoastal, the Canadian canals, or possibly just going straight to Europe. So that's in a nutshell. But, you know, the truth is these days, and depending on everything, I don't know what's going to happen. But I thought I'd share that with you because you're here. Here we go. Thanks. Carl, isolation is boring. Yes. Just went to the supermarket with a mask on and no poop paper rolls. Yeah. 3 rolls left. Hang in there, mate. I don't have much either, but I have enough. Rob Goblin, what are we talking about here? Makes sense on the second shower head. Yes. Is the one you've got in the wet head or a dry head? I have a wet head. And it's wonderful. As I said, it's someone fiberglass the whole thing. It's like a brand new boat. It's like you step into a new fiberglass sailboat when you go into the head on this thing. It doesn't mean it's ideal for me, but it certainly keeps everything dry, and you know it's fine. Rob, again, you got the perfect size boat for sure. Love the series. Thank you very much, Rob. Fred's got any Landy content adventures planned? Well, you're probably just listening to me talking about driving around the world in the Land Rover sometime soon. Other than that, I had a fantastic road trip with my daughter this last spring. If you haven't seen the episodes and you like Land Rover stuff, scoot back in time and you'll see that we drove down the Pacific Coast Highway and then across America, and I came back. I love road tripping, and I really love road tripping in a minimalist style, in just under the canvas roof of the Land Rover, where it's basically car top tent. You see people with trucks getting these car top tents. Well, mine came with one. So it's great. I absolutely love it. I've road tripped most of North America now. I'm not too worried about that. I'd like to go to some events. Certainly, I was going to go down to Mendocino, California this April to a Land Rover event that I was very excited about. Probably not going to happen now. But I am a diehard Land Rover road tripper. So something's going to happen. I just don't necessarily know what. Back to, do you have any problems with windscreen during wintertime? And notice any leaks or varnish cracking? Well, you probably mentioned that I did all that work to the windscreen last fall. I didn't get every leak. Almost. They're not close. There's one little corner that's still damp, which I will fight. Varnish is definitely fading because I only got 2 coats of varnish on it, but not enough that it's going to need to come off again. What I didn't do was clean all the caulking mess I put all over the glass, so the windshield was looking pretty shameful. But on the whole, it's holding up very nicely. The intent was to get it dry, and then in the spring I'll get right to it and try. This is the year of no more leaks. I only have about 3, and they're all small, but They drive me nuts. One of them's over my bed. I too enjoy your beer of the week and would love to enjoy them with you, but I quit 35 years ago and just custom beer manufacturing began. Bad timing on my part. Yes, but of course I have, huge support for that. I grew up in an alcoholic home, and my father stopped drinking at just the right time, and it's a wonderful thing when you think you can do that and can still talk and laugh about it. So I hope we're raising something with you there. Jim, hug and pet Geordie. We just are a little gidget. Give him some love. Absolutely will. I'm feeling we've gone on a long way here. I haven't really talked about much. I've been answering questions, and I'm glad. I hope everyone is enjoying this live stream. There's probably many who are saying, get to the beer and to the t-shirt giveaway, which I'll do. We can keep talking after as long as you want, but I'm thirsty. So I'm going to share with you a beer of the week. To do that, I need to put my glasses on so I can read the beer can. I've been drinking this stuff for a week now. This is fantastic. Daggerand, Forgotten Future. It's a table saison. And it is my new, I'm not sure if I'm, no, I was looking at the reflection on the screen rather than the actual, anyway, you know what I mean. This is a fantastic local, very, very nice summer drinking beer. It's a saison, and I just love it. So, unlike many of the beers I drink with you, I'm not having it for the first time. I am drinking it again. I lost track there. I don't know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so for those of you who have a beverage to share with me, I hope you're cracking it open right now. Unfortunately, the glass was a bit warm, so we're getting a little more head on here than I might have liked, but I think we'll manage that fine. I'm trying not to pour beer onto the laptop, onto the iPad, which is on my lap. Laptop, iPad, running out of things to say. All right, then. Well, here we go. Are we in unison? I can't read and drink and look at all the same. I need a crew to pull this off. I really, really do. Cheers to you all, and let's get through this COVID-19 together. Well, I have to say, because I always do, that's a really good beer. So if you're anywhere where you can get this, obviously this is not a sponsored bit, Daggerand, it's just absolutely fantastic. Come to the Pacific Northwest and enjoy one. Cheers again to you all. Okay, I'm going to have a quick look down at the screen, and then we're going to do a word of the day. I guess it's not a word of beer of the week, it's beer of the day, as well as a word of the day. I'm losing stuff. Hey, Bob, hey, was binge watching and noticed exterior videos don't show any nav lights. Where they're located on the monk-built boats. Right there. I don't know if you can see that. There's a little hole right there. That's where the side marker lights are outside, and the wire will come down that little hole and out that hole. Isn't that convenient? So anyway, that's the red and green. There's obviously a small mast, which is off it right now, and I'm probably going to build a new mast so that I have more room for solar up there, which has the steaming light and the anchor light on it, and basically hanging off the stern rail of the bridge deck, the upper deck, is my stern light, my white stern light, and it's there. Excuse me. Terrible. I did just drink beer, though, right? I can't edit it out. And the lights aren't on. None of the lights are on except for the stern one, just because I was refinishing out here on the outside, and I haven't gone anywhere that I needed lights for in the meantime. Plus, they're the beautiful big old Perco cast bronze and then chromed lights that you see on all these vintage boats, and the chrome is in really bad shape. When I first bought the boat, I said, I'm going to have to pay to have them re-chromed. But now, I am such a bronze fiend. I much prefer natural bronze to chrome. Now, I know that era correct for this boat is chrome. I like bronze. I just love bronze. So I'm probably going to strip them, electroplate stripping, basically just put it in a bath with some curd on it. The chrome flies off. And then not polish them, but clean them up a bit, and they will be raw bronze along with most of the outside hardware on the boat. It's not a Chris Craft. I can bend the rules a little bit. Okay, so let's carry on with some questions here. Actually, first a sip. Cheers. All right, here we go. Cheers. Excellent. Lots of cheers. There he is. You got me excited, but can't wait for the Landy content. Excellent. Well, it's coming. Comedy Ash. There it is. Cheers, 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 Comedy. Cheers to Rob. Cheers to Bass. Cheers to Gary. Black Light, cheers. RGB EMT, cheers. Car Little, cheers. Jamie Innes, excellent. I get my beers on ice. Get on with it then, James. Here we go. Vika, I hope I pronounced that right. Vika, cheers. Tendra, cheers, mate. Will you build a sleeping room, cabin, and amenities on the stern side? Yes, the entire aft cabin is my bedroom. Everything aft of this bulkhead is bedroom. There's a bathroom. So it's like an ensuite. When I bought the boat, there was a dinette way at the back, then the galley, and then a little fold-up settee thing on the starboard side, and the bathroom. The first thing I took out of there was the dinette, because it's a horrible place to sit, way in the back. I shouldn't say horrible, but this is where you want to sit, right? And then the galley. I wanted the galley up here too, because this is a huge wheelhouse. So directly after me is a residential double-sized bed, which is a walk-around. So it has a little room at the end with a place to sit. You've seen me perhaps build the wardrobe at the end, which is against the aft bulkhead. On the starboard side, there's a bunch of bins and a piece of plywood. That is going to become a large dresser, quite high, so there's copious amounts of drawers in there. And the aft end of that will have a small, one of those fantastic Italian laundry machines, washer dryer in one. Love them. Hope you're still making them. And then the head is fixed forward to that. So the aft cabin is entirely bedroom. Just in case you're also wondering, the forecastle, the forward cabin, in other words, forward of this wheelhouse, is a guest cabin, and it's a double to port, but it's a V-berth. So it's double width at the back, a little wider actually, but it comes to only about 2 feet wide at the front. So it's like a V-berth. Starboard side has a little nav station work area. Forward of that is a hanging locker. And then forward of that, there's another cabin, there's another space, and that's the forward head, which has a toilet and a sink, no shower. It doesn't have it now, but that's what it's going to be, because I want a full guest suite for guests where they have their own little office. They can have that space. And that will also be the guest suite for possible, I don't see why I wouldn't do it, guests aboard from the patron world. So I would imagine at some point when I'm cruising, or possibly even here in Victoria, it's a nice place to visit, I'll get to a civilized enough point where I can invite people aboard. So hopefully that answered your question. Cheers from Bison. How are? I'm hoping I've always pronounced that right. I know it's not bison. Maybe it's bison. David Harris, cheers. Where's the brewery again, Victoria? I think it's on the peninsula, but I'll have to check. When I say peninsula, it's in Burnaby, BC. Burnaby, basically a suburb of Vancouver. I thought it was an island brewery. It's so good. So good. Okay, I'm going to read a few more questions, then we'll give away a t-shirt. Agreed on bronze. Thank you, Black Eyed Marine. Fred Scott, when you come to Europe, the UK, you've got to do a Land Rover meet. Yes, I very much hope so. One neat thing about my Land Rover is that it's heavily modified, and I did it all on YouTube. If you haven't seen it, Fred, look down in the description of any video. Further on down there, there are links to a 21 or so part series on building my truck, because it's fairly heavily modified. In fact, there's lots. I started YouTubing Land Rover stuff years ago. So there's some road trips. There's mostly pretty foolish. I was younger, and not that I'm not foolish now. But anyway, if you've missed that, Fred, or anyone who's interested in Land Rover content and hasn't found it yet, there is a ton of Land Rover content in my past life, whatever, all that. But anyway, what I was trying to say is, because the truck is relatively well known, I have a reasonable following in the Land Rover community. It's fantastic. I have lots of people in Europe, all over the world actually, who've said, "Got to do meetups when you come around. Got to do meetups." So there'll be plenty of that, no doubt about it. Rob, again, you hinted that you had an engine work coming up, such as. Okay, maybe Rob just joined us, because we're all here together. Rob, I think I'm abandoning the engine that I've already installed in the boat. The engine is probably fine, but the cumulative cost of all the bits I need to make it run exceeds the price of another engine, because I have sourced another engine with great thanks to some help from here at the marina, one of my neighbors. It's ostensibly a 0 hours genset engine, same engine, a Perkins 4236, but it's marinized. It's for a boat, but it's not a propulsion engine. It's a generator engine. So it's going to have some slight differences. It has a deep oil pan, which I'll have to exchange for the engine, the one that's on the engine in the boat, and possibly some tweaks to the injection pump to do with governor or stuff like that. Anyway, I haven't even seen it. COVID-19 has put the brakes on all that, but I'm quite confident that the engine is waiting for me. And when I find the money, no, I have the money. Really, I do. If you're listening, but one way or another, we're gonna get that engine. That is going to be the engine that's going down here. So that's the answer to that. Mr. Lumpkin, hey Peter, are there any rules in Marina about having a running boat? You mentioned having to move after 8 months. Well, in the interest of pure transparency, the rules and regulations for the marina I'm currently at do stipulate that all boats must be operational. That's the answer to that question. I get away with a lot here. I know I do. The truth is, my boat doesn't work right now, but it is otherwise in pretty top nick, and I'm getting away with it. What more can I say? Here we go. Gary, do you fish? Dang good question. I keep saying to myself, how come I don't fish? I have fished 2 times in my life, once with a hook, more boats going out, lots of sailboats leaving. They're going away. I was 11. I caught a sculpin in Newfoundland off the east coast of Canada. The hook went in its mouth and out its eye. My father said, you caught it, you're dealing with it. It kind of turned me off fishing, honestly. The second time I went fishing, I was casting. Had a great time. I only casted with the lead weight. I didn't want to catch anything. So I'm not squeamish, and I love fish. I just somehow haven't endorsed fishing. I grew up downtown Montreal. Fishing wasn't a big part of my life. When I lived in Lunenburg, Nova Scotia, practically the fishing capital of Canada, sorry, Newfoundlanders, I know that may not be the case, I didn't fish because I was basically constantly given fish. Lots of people around here fish. I should fish. I'm going to fish, but I don't right now. It's funny. I keep thinking, got to get a rod, got to figure that out. So the answer is no, but I'm going to. Carl Little asks, I also agree on the bronze. Yes, I've stripped the chrome off a couple of vents, but they tarnish quickly. What do you recommend to stop this? Honestly, I don't know, Carl. Tung oil. My favorite finish for wood was originally, might be hearsay, a metal finish. In fact, it's been used for decades as a metal finish. You basically just rub it on something metal and it doesn't rust. And I can tell you, my table saw back in Nova Scotia, which lived a pretty hard life, indoors and outdoor construction saw, cast iron top, tung oiled, never rusted. Also was nice and slippery for the wood. So if I was going to try something, I'm actually going to try tung oil on it. Who knows? Who knows? Rob Crawford. Cool. Got to run. Good to see you, Rob. Hang on. People are leaving, and I realize it's been a long time. I actually have no idea how many people are here. I hope someone will enjoy this. Oh, it does tell me up here. There are 66 people here. Excellent. All 66 of you. I'm going to give away a t-shirt. And as I did it last time, I just gave you the word of the day, which today, on account of how we're all coping with COVID-19, is resilient. Resilient or resilience. We have a shared resilience coping with all this. So throw resilient or resilience in a comment in the live stream or something like that, and I'll just do a big scroll and I'll put my finger on it. And when I hit it, I'll tell you, whoever you are, to send me an email and we'll get you off a t-shirt. So let's see what we got in the way of people looking for resilience. I'll answer a few more questions in the meantime. Got to run. Here we are. Here they come in. Stay resilient, my friend. David Harris. I'm not black flag. I'm not telling anyone. Thanks. The whole marina knows. They're just kind to me. A bunch of resilience coming in. Resilience is a virtue. Excellent. Love that. So I'm going to let this stream for a little while, and then I'll scroll back in and pick a winner. But I wanted to talk briefly because I started a micro controversy about going cruising as a means of self-isolation during this crisis. And the concerns were valid. I understand, although I haven't actually seen a report myself, that in Italy and perhaps in Europe and in other places, and just on the whole, in a time of a viral outbreak, people may panic and scatter to the country, leaving the cities and scatter to the countries, thereby becoming an immense vector. You can just see it. It's an explosion of potential vectors of infection, and it's irresponsible. On that point, I completely agree. I hadn't considered it. It wasn't part of popular culture when I had decided to go cruising. Now, just a little background. Cruising means leaving this marina and going out into a schwack of secluded islands and bays and inlets. We're not going to see anybody. We may wave at some other boats. We have enough stores on board of water, fuel, food. We have high-speed cell phones, so you'll still be getting updates. We have no intention of seeing anybody at all, which is largely what we do when we cruise. This is not the cruising season for this neck of the woods. There will be very few recreational cruisers out there. I'm curious about how many people in self-isolation cruising there'll be, but they'll all also be in self-isolation. So that sort of standard, getting together and waving at boats and, hey, come on over for a drink, won't be happening. So we'll be at least as vigilant about self-isolation there as we are here. Here, my friend and I both have a dog, which means two dogs got to go up the dock past 8 or 10 liveaboard boats, through what I call the breezeway, up the ramp, through several gates, through parking lot, up to a place where they can do their business twice a day. That's not complete self-isolation. It's pretty safe, but it's not. Whereas taking them ashore in a little completely isolated cove where no one is a lot better. I hope I have rested fears about this particular concern. I am very open and welcome to a dialogue about whether or not what I'm doing is responsible or not. And truthfully, I want to do the responsible thing. It's not going to be completely easy to go cruising perpetually. There are some limitations, vast water limitations. I know of enough little bays and streams around here that we can collect water, but MV Zephyrs only carries 100 gallons of water, so we're going to have to be careful with water. Of course, fuel carries 100 gallons roughly of fuel, so we can't just be cruising perpetually. Have food for several months, no doubt. So it's not going to be easy. It's going to be kind of survival mode, but I'm okay with that in a way. I'd rather somehow be doing that than just be sitting on the dock and not going anywhere. But I'm open to dialogue on that and cheers on that. So let's see how much resilience there is out there. Okay. Resilience, really. Wood boats are resilient. Yes, they are. Wood boats figured. Helps me a good neighbor. People tend to look past these things. Yes, we're still talking about the engine doesn't run. Ray, you'll have to be resilient in these days. Major resilience in the world as we as a whole will make it through. Yes, we will. Spend the 11 need it. Resilience. Loving the stream. Thanks for giving us something so entertaining. Fair winds. Well, thank you very, very much from John Rayner. Mr. Lumpkin, you're still here. Sorry, Peter, I wasn't trying to get you busted. That's no problem. Everyone here knows the motor doesn't run. The truth is, the motor does run. I could hack it together and go. I'd rather not. Comedy Ash, resilience is something that will be embraced in times to come. Yes, it is. Sounds like you have a very resilient plan. Thank you. Running your yellow flag up the mast, that should keep the others away. Yes, it is. In fact, just before I pick the winner of the t-shirt, one of the Instagram accounts I follow, fantastic guy. He's here in Victoria. I've never met him. I've never reached out to him, but I should at some point. I'd love to do a beer of the week with him. Nomad Boat Building. He's he builds small boats, and he's got a series where he put a dory together. The quality of his cinematography is fantastic. I really like the guy. If you're out there, I apologize. I've never said hi to you. But anyway, he's also a banjo player. He's making a banjo. God damn it. I'm a banjo player. I haven't shared that with you yet, but I play banjo. And it's kind of an old joke. Like, how do you clear a room? You take out the banjo. What's the definition of a gentleman? A banjo player takes a banjo to a party and doesn't play. It applies to the bagpipes as well, by the way, which I also play. So anyway, I just thought I'd mention that, keeping people away. Nomad Boat Building, something like that. Really, really neat stuff. Okay, so I'm going to scroll back up here, randomly scroll, and put my finger as close to possible. I scrolled up too far. Boom. Here we go. We have to be resilient this day. Ray Keating. We all have to be resilient these days. Ray Keating, you have won yourself a Travels with Geordie t-shirt, if you want one. So the way it works, you're going to get a coupon for the Travels with Geordie online store. But to do all that, it's easier if we just share an email. So Ray, if you can send me an email at swag, SWAG, at travelswithgeordie, all one word, .com. Travelswithgeordie.com. If I don't hear from you in a day or so, we'll find a way to reach out to you again. I'm not sure what that would be, but there must be we'll find a way. Ray, get in touch with me. We'll get you a t-shirt. Okay, cool. What do we got going on here? Tom, sounds like you have a very resilient plan. Yes, Gary, run the yellow flag up. Yes, exactly. Hoist a sail, says Dana. I'm assuming you mean get going, which is, I'm hoping that's what you mean, because I don't have a sail, but I think I know what you mean. Super resilient is the word. Yeah, a black flag. I like a good banjo twang. Well, maybe someday we'll play a little banjo for you. You never know. I play mountain style or frailing style or claw hammer, they call it. In other words, not the bluegrass style. So not, what you've seen on, say, Deliverance. It's much more sort of rhythmical. It's kind of, anyway, never mind all that for now. Resilience, also like salt and tar. Love salt and tar. I love them. I really, they're building an unusual boat. They're working super hard. They're years into this. They're sticking it out. I just love them. And she's just so sweet, and he's just so competent. Love salt and tar. Absolutely. If anyone hasn't seen it, Salt and Tar. Fantastic. And accordion players. I have an accordion too. I don't play. I collect instruments. Carl, great job. Ray, excellent. Still waiting on winning a t-shirt myself. Well, Carl, we're going to find a way. Ray gives me a thumbs up, so good. Hopefully, we're going to get you going on that. Time for a sip. Cheers. Well, unless there are some key questions, I mean, I'm here all day, but it feels a little odd for me to just keep yakking at you guys all the time. We've had a beer of the week. We've given away a shirt. You've got a pretty good update on what I'm up to. Let me have a look here. How many of you are still here? 6 of you. 6 of you here. No, 63 people here. Wow, that's amazing. It amazes me. Anyway, hello, all of you 63 people. If you have more questions, I am here to answer more questions, so we can keep this going. No problem at all. I got to find a better system to do this though, because it's just so annoying. Okay, what's your heating source? Talked about it just a little bit briefly, but I'll give it another go. Currently, it's just electric heaters because I'm at the marina, so I have shore power. But the eventual heating source will be a closed loop hot water system, which will be heated by 3 means, actually, so I can elaborate on it a bit. Engine heat when the engine is running, an electric heater when I have shore power, electric hot water heater. And when I don't have shore power and I'm anchored and I don't have engine heat, a Lobosco diesel electric furnace, which is a beautiful little device about that big. The boat actually has one. It came with one, but it's in pretty bad shape. But it taught me to love the things. I got it running again, and it's amazing the amount of heat they put out and how little fuel they use. So, and it uses the fuel I already have aboard. I'm really quite excited about it. So that will create hot water. Then it will go through a loop through the whole boat. It'll heat the domestic hot water, the water that you take out of your taps and your showers, as well as several heaters, basically like a little fan heater. It's sort of like a car heater. Has a little radiator in it and a fan. Now, the other thing that I might want to do, and I did it for those who've been following a long time, I used to have an Airstream way back, and it had in-floor heat in an Airstream. It was so nice. I put that in and it worked very, very well. The problem with the floor sole in a boat is that almost all of it has to be able to come up to get at things underneath, which is not the case in a home or an Airstream. So the prospect of putting tubes in the floor is not nearly as easy here. So I'm thinking about a few things, but it'll be basically heat, hot water, and I'll use up that hot water heat in one way or another. Ray says, thanks, email the fall, that's good. Bob, watch the episode on the Dickinson propane furnace. Yes, you did. Now, that's not on this boat. That's on my friend's boat, MV Zephyrus. MV Zephyrus is a liveaboard, cruising capable, but not designed for long-term self-reliant cruising. Funny, I just used the word reliant, resilient. Oh, no, never mind. So the Dickinson makes sense for cool evenings on shoulder seasons, it's propane. And using a copious amount of propane while cruising is not that simple because it's not always easy to get a lot of propane. Right now in North America, propane is very, very cheap and relatively abundant and easy to get, but it's not a universal fuel. Certainly not in Europe. You have butane and other things. I know there's some places you can get propane. I don't want to create any confusion about that. So the Dickinson is awesome. I will not be putting a Dickinson-style propane heater on this boat. I'd love one, but I don't really have an ideal spot. They're ridiculously expensive, and I don't want to use propane for heat. I'm going to reserve my propane for cooking, which lasts a very, very long time if all you use it for is cooking. But I would love a wood stove, either one of the little cubes from Quebec or some tiny little woods. I would love one. I'm not going to have one probably because I don't really have the space for it. I don't know how I'd store wood, but I don't know. I would love one. I've always had a wood fire. The last 30 years of my life, I have lived with a wood stove. So other than the last 5, I would love to have a wood stove. What do we got going on here? Have you tried any South African beer? I have not. From South Africa. Stephen, I have not. Why don't you send me some? I'd love to. I have root beer float going right now. Well, cheers. Cheers to Web Tracker. Cheers on the root beer float. And of course, cheers to anyone who else is still here and has a beverage to cheers me with. Okay, what do we got going on here now? Dana, could you actually tell me which way to pronounce it? Dana or Dana? And I don't know how you're going to tell me that in words. Say yes for Dana, no if it's Dana. I don't know how to do this. Something like that. Because I felt bad all this time. I'm probably mispronouncing your words and probably... Anyway, never mind that. So I'll answer your question at least. I'm replacing broken ribs. I saw the URIDE channel tips of a boatwright using plastic ribs seem very interesting. Hope to see you use them and see how they... Okay, yes. Well, that is tips from a shipwright. He gave me the idea. Long before I had this boat, I was enthralled by wooden boats and was following his channel. I think there's a lot to be said for plastic frames. Ironically, my plan might be shifting a little bit, but there's lots to be discussed on that. Definitely the work on the hull of the boat, which is going to be the bulk of next winter's work, is yet to be determined exactly what it'll be. But plastic or ultra high molecular weight plastic specifically will factor a big part of it, maybe not a huge part of it. But anyway, we'll know more about it. It's very interesting stuff. David Harris, have you finished your dinette that you're sitting at? Well, I've finished the mock-up of it, basically. So there's this bench. There's another bench that looks just like it over there. And there's a table that you guys are all sitting on between us, made of plywood. It is modular. It can be moved around in about 7 different locations. I've had fun playing with that when Caitlin was here. My daughter was here recently. We tried it in a couple of different arrangements, and I'm thrilled with it. I'm not going to be doing anything else to it. That's not true. I'm going to be putting some armrests on, and I'm going to be experimenting with a fold-away armrest system of some sort. Some people have asked me about having some curves in the armrest, and yes, there's going to be curves in the armrest. If you're familiar with arts and crafts style or mission style, there's a very famous style of chair, and Morris chair? Oh gosh, I don't know why. I've lost it for a second. I think it's a Morris chair. Very classic, oak, dark, very pub feeling. Which, can you tell I'm just making a pub? And the armrests are wide and they curve back ever so slightly. Kind of, curve. That's what I'm going for. But we'll know more about that in the next little while. Kurt, when do you do the Great Loop? Do you have a dock available at the canal in my backyard in Cape Breton? Yes! Thank you very much. I'm so grateful for that. That would be wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. It's just, I've had a couple of offers like that, and I'm so excited about it. I really should be documenting them, because I got an offer, actually, when this channel first started. And I don't know if you're out there. I've lost track of you. Someone messaged me from Venice in Italy saying that when you're cruising Europe, come to Venice, because I have a spot on the canal where you can park and stay. I'll have my men come and... Anyway, it's fantastic. Very, very exciting. I have to drink now. I'm so excited. But again, those kinds of things are very, very welcome. Super excited about that. Thank you very much. Okay, here we go. Got to jump back a little bit. I love the channel and the journey into cruising plan. Look forward to watching your progress. Thanks so much, RJCM, Darth Vader. RGB AM2, will your new engine require further modifications to install, or will you be able to use the present engine mounts? Excellent question. Yes and no. They can use the present engine mounts because I cut down the beds. You saw me do all that. But and the engine will go in like that. But in long term, I'm going to put new engine beds in that are outbound of in other words, outside the existing beds and taller, to replace all the cutaway, because so much of those engine beds were cut away, and so many of the floors, which are the beams that run crosswise underneath, were cut away. And I think I can vastly improve all that. That is the subject of 10 episodes probably coming up. But largely it's a drop-in replacement. Yes. But in time, other things will change as well. I have completely messed this up. Oh, that's because I don't know how to use it. Here we go. Okay, love challenge. For my will you? Where will your lovely boat need to come out of the water again? From Craig Randall. My lovely boat is coming out of the water in the spring of 2021. At which point it'll be mostly replacing butt joints with scarf joints, checking the rest of the hull. There will be some refastening work done at that time, and I'm going to chip out all the concrete out of the bilge at that time because I don't want to do that while I'm in the water. Something about a chisel on the bottom of the boat while floating doesn't feel good. And I will finalize the work I was talking about a moment ago about the engine beds and the new floors. That'll all be done during that haul out. So it's pretty ambitious haul out. There we go. What else we got? Carlo, what about a pellet heater? Pellets, I suppose. Wood stove, it could be. Who knows? Dana, Coyle, you haven't told me how to pronounce it. Okay, so it's, Jesus, which did I say? I answered yes, but I forgot which I made it. I'm going to say Dana. Dana. I'm going to call you Dana. Gosh, I'll get this right. Dana, you mentioned on music, I use a demand propane heater, work great. For hot water, yes, I bet it did. You know, when you say music, Dana, I hope I'm not speaking out of school here, but I know you lost music in the hurricane last year, and I've always really felt bad about that. And I hope boating for you is still as happy in some way as it has been in the past. And I know many of you, there's probably many out there who have lost boats in hurricanes or under other circumstances. And Geordie to me, MV Geordie is as close to me as my dog Geordie. The thought of losing her at this point is absolutely devastating. Comedy Ash, any chance you can make some music-oriented content? This is something very important to me that you mentioned a few times tonight. Wow. Comedy Ash, thank you very much. I don't know. Music is a huge part of my life, but I'm a perfectionist. I thought it would be fun to do that little noodly thing because it didn't really count. It was kind of just foolish. And I watched myself and I said, why did I try to do those high notes and that ridiculous? So I'm being totally frank with you all here. I'm shy. I'm shy about performing publicly. So maybe this is it. Maybe this is what it took for me to start to play a little more music. So I'm not making a commitment, but I play a handful of instruments and I can noodle, okay on half of them. So yeah, I'd love to do a little more music. I probably won't inundate all viewers with the episodes with a lot of music, because some people will not want to hear too much bagpiping or banjo playing. But let me think about that. Let me think about that. Something about that. Gary, thanks for the chat. I've got to go prepare supper. Absolutely, you've been here. Thank you very much, Gary. And again, thank you so much for your recent gift, Gary. Black Flag Marine again. Give it a shot from time to time. Honestly, Black Flag Marine, I don't know what we're talking about. I have to look back at the last thing we talked about. Maybe talking about music. I don't know. Cheers to that. Excellent. Okay, well, I've reached the end of this round of questions. I think probably we have done what we need to do here, and I don't want to hold you people from your dinner or your breakfast or wherever you are in the world. I have one last question, which you can either answer while you're here or any other time. I picked 2 o'clock on a Sunday, trying to compromise between North American time zones, European time zone, and Australia time zone. I realize it's not ideal for anyone, a little late in Europe and a little early in Australia. But if that seems okay, please give me some feedback on that, because we'll do more of these and I'd like to get just the right time. So unless there is something here that demands my attention, like a playing banjo, yes, definitely, I will some more, yeah. Quick question, does your present transmission bolt up to the new motor? Yes and no. The transmission is a Borg Warner Velvet drive, and it bolts up to a bell housing, which bolts up to the motor. So that bell housing will come off my existing motor and therefore bolt onto the new motor just perfectly. There will be some differences in what's called the drive plate. And the crankshaft on the back of the engine has a flywheel on it. And that flywheel may be different for a generator set. I don't know. I won't know until I look at it. But this flywheel will bolt to that one, no doubt. And then there's a thing called the drive plate, which has a small female spline on it that bolts to the flywheel, which takes the input spline off the transmit. Too technical. I have all the pits to make it work. Between juggling what I have and what I'll get. Your plans in Europe, come to Europe with your boat. Yes. UWE Reidiger. Yes. You may not have been following for a long time. My long-term plans for the boat are to ship it to Europe. Currently, my best price is deck cargo from Halifax to Southampton in England. And I will then, I'm an English citizen, I'm a UK citizen. I used to be an EU citizen. But anyway, I was born in London, so I have a British passport. I will at that point immigrate or repatriate to England, and I will be English. I will be importing the boat to England, and if I do it as I move there, and this is super important, if any of you have better information on this than I, it'll be the subject of future videos anyway. It looks like I can import the boat to England while I move there and repatriate, escaping both a burdensome tax and, worse yet, an inspection for a European compliance sticker, which it would not pass, or I need a brand new diesel at that time. So that's the plan. Okay, sorry. And then I will then cruise Europe, the canals and rivers of Europe and coastal cruising. I'm crazy about Europe. So it's all the French canals, the Dutch canals, the German canals, and then into the Mediterranean and Italy and the Danube. I would love to cruise the Danube, back up, all over. And then when I'm too old and decrepit to do that, I will sell this boat and buy a narrowboat in England, a steel narrowboat, and end my days on the English canals, the narrow canals, tottering off to the pub and being a nuisance. So what else we got? Did you ever finish the CGI 3D steam railway track? I did. Your full question. Did you ever render it? Would be nice to see the finished version. I did. It's not finished. For those of you who don't understand the question, at one point I had a client that actually was interested in a three-dimensional computer model of a small model railway layout, and I did a quick mock-up, and then I advanced it quite a bit, although it's nowhere near finished. But circumstances have changed, and it's not going to be used for what it was going to. So I just have to confirm if I can use it in the public domain, which I think I can. In other words, if I can present it, and it'll be fun. I'll put it up as a separate video. It's kind of fun. A little steam train runs through a town and over bridges and stuff like that. And I had a ball doing it, frankly. Yeah. Great timing. Okay. Black Tiger, as long as, wait a second now. Oh, I'm getting good answers here. Thanks for the stream, Peter. Excellent. It's 6:35 in Palm Bay, Florida, so that doesn't sound too bad. Works, especially during the COVID-19 isolating period, so the time doesn't seem okay. Great boat, not work. Hard with epoxy, great material for wooden boats. Okay, that's good. Enjoyed the chat. Thanks, Webb. Time's okay. Saturday would be better. Sunday morning is our time in Australia. That's true. Probably because I realize it's Monday morning by the time, which works in Australia. So it probably will move to Saturday, probably, but the same time, 2:00. Craig, you're welcome to the live stream. Time is fine. Just getting back from walking the dog. Excellent. Black, I think as long as you owned it for at least 6 months before that, that's the case. Yes. What Black Flag Marine is saying, that importing the boat, I can probably do it tax-free. There's another criteria. I have to sign a waiver that I'm not going to sell it within a period of time, which of course I'm not. Lee Barrett says the history. I'm not quite sure what you mean. I guess you got a little history. Dana, you chose the right pronunciation of my name. Yes, I'm the one who lost the sailboat music after cruising 5,200 miles in the Bahamas, Tortuga, Haiti, Dominican Republic, and the North Shore of Cuba. Again, Dana, I feel terrible about that. Craig Randall, come to Lock-Free Lancaster Canal one day in the UK. I cruise at Fab. I am so excited about cruising the English canals. I way back, I was a big fan. He's still doing videos. A fellow called the Narrowboat Lad. His name is actually guys, I've lost it. Anyway, young fella from the border region of Wales, who started a YouTube channel years ago, and it made it so interesting traveling the canals of England on narrowboat. Of course, there's many narrowboat channels now. Of course, the big one, I've lost track of it. Very, very popular. I'll get there, and there'll be no room because everyone wants to cruise the narrowboats. Black Lives Matter. I thought you showed it before, and it was pretty cool. I've lost track now of what that's about. But anyway, Bob, YVR time works fine for me. Yes, well, you were in the same time zone, buddy. James Dennis, 2024 here in London. Sunday night live stream, perfect for me. Yes, I would imagine it would be. Hopefully Saturday night is just as good because it might move to Saturday, so the Australians aren't watching early Monday morning. Maybe they can just tell their bosses, busy, in a meeting, something like that. Okay, railroad. Oh, right, railroad. Yes, exactly. Showed it before. Really pretty cool. Well, I have way more to show about the railroad. It's quite a bit nicer now. It's not done, and I'll feel bad showing it to you. But Bob, over in Delta, BC. Excellent. Well, you're in the right time zone, so that worked out well. Excellent. Well, I will say that probably concludes today's stream. Don't want to prat on forever. I will cheers you all one more time. Congratulations to, I'm so sorry. I've already forgotten the name of you. The fellow on the shirt. And we'll get you set up there. And I hope you're all being resilient in these hard times. And if you wish, we can do this more often. Cheers to you all. And stay safe. Stay resilient. Wash your hands. Seifel Slay. Cheers. Bye.